Now we're going. Miss Corinne Quiggle, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Good to have you back on. We have to take advantage of the few opportunities that we have when you're home. You're not in the United States all that often.
Well, hopefully for a little bit I'll be back. But yeah, been on the road for a good bit now.
Yeah, well, it's because we were talking about it earlier when you were hanging out back at the house. But your schedule was funny this year because you and Sarah charged at the beginning.
Yep.
And then it was an AVP domestic stretch. And then you've just been charging again.
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely in the beginning of the year, we set off, like, we had big goals. We really wanted to get into world champs. We did. Mm-hmm. We had great points in the beginning of the year. So we were like, no matter what we go, we felt like we were playing well. We didn't have a setup necessarily with our coach and with everything. We were kind of loose on that side, but everything else we felt really good about. So we charged. We skipped Miami to go play La Paz, Saquarema, Itapema, and, did not get off to a good start of the year. It was honestly like such an interesting start. And I'm really actually proud of the way that we didn't let that define our whole year, because it's really easy. Like, I was hurting after those tournaments, like my soul, everything, my whole body, everything was hurting. It's
so hard to travel, especially to skip an AVP.
Yeah, where 2 AVPs.
You're guaranteed money, guaranteed main draw, to go have a big expense and then make zero money. And then, like you said, it's easy to let that define the rest of your year. And it's easy, especially sort of at the like upper to middle tier of the main draw, to be like, all right, this isn't working. It's time to switch. But you guys stuck it out.
Yeah. No, and I'm proud that we did that too. Because I'd say internationally, especially in the beginning part of our year, we did not have a great start, obviously. But domestically, we had one of our best years yet. You know, I mean, Hermosa was amazing. We had some strong tournaments domestically, and I think it leaves a little bit like split year, because a lot of our international goals we didn't reach, and I felt we left a lot on the table, and a lot of it was probably mental, and maybe at the end of the year, some physical ailments and whatnot, and maybe even at the beginning. But I think it's still awesome that we can take away some of these great wins that we had, even like Pan Am games. That was one of the best experiences I've ever had. That was such a cool experience that I'll definitely remember for forever. And I got to meet so many people, and I don't know if that would have happened had we been on this other path. So I don't know, it takes you in a bunch of different ways, and the volleyball roller coaster just, takes you for some turns and flips you upside down and beats you around.
Have you heard the parable of the Chinese farmer?
I might have.
You probably heard a version of it.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking about this a lot recently, especially with everyone asking, oh, what's the new AVP? Is this good or bad? And basically the parable is the Chinese farmer and his horse runs away. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry that your horse ran away. And like, that's so terrible. And he goes, maybe not. And then so they go get the horse, and they end up finding a bunch of other wild horses. And so they bring back 4. Like, oh my gosh, that's so great. You quadrupled the number of horses you have. Yeah. Like, that's awesome. He goes, maybe not. So then his son is trying to break one of the horses, gets thrown off and breaks his arm. They're like, oh, I'm so sorry your son broke his arm. Like, that's terrible. He goes, maybe not. And then the army comes around and they need to draft someone for war, and he can't go because he's hurt. And like, oh, that's amazing. He's like, well, maybe not. And that's how it, and so no matter, like, you have a terrible start to the season that's terrible, maybe not. Like, that just leads you to, all right, it puts you on a different path to go to Pan Am's, and you have this incredible experience. And that's sort of the view I've taken with the sport.
No, and I love that, actually. That makes me feel like, with all the little things that have happened, and sometimes Sarah and I feel like, oh, we made a bad decision. But and sometimes, even me, when I make a decision, I'm like, oh, shoot, if I would have done this, but I don't know the way that it would turn out the other way. And so I have this route, and we'll see where it takes us. And I think that that's a great way to look at it, because I definitely, as somebody who can be very indecisive, judge a lot of my small decisions. And so if we would have skipped one at the beginning of the year, then we could have gone to a bunch of the challengers in the middle of the year and whatever. But we wouldn't have been on the same path, and we wouldn't have given ourselves the opportunity to go to Worlds that way, because we would have skipped tournaments that are, Worlds only counted from 2024. So again, it didn't make sense in what we had at the time. We made our decisions, and we don't know if it was good or bad, but it took us on a really cool path. So yeah, I love that.
What the conversation look like after Sakurima? Because that's at some point, like a hard conversation was probably had, I'd imagine.
We had some hard conversations, I feel like, in a few different times. And I want to say, like, Sarah and I are really close, and I love Sarah. She's absolutely amazing. And she's somebody that I feel comfortable having a lot of these hard conversations with. And so when we had another tournament where, you know, I think we could have done better, and we were both feeling a little discouraged because we know our ceilings were much higher than how we performed. And even the way that I don't know. Anyway, going back to the hard conversations, because I don't want to go down that path too far.
You can go down whatever rabbit hole you want.
But we kind of were like, we agreed to each other for this year. Like, we talked about this, and we just need to commit. Like, we need to figure out what we can do to be the best partners for each other, the best players, what we can do to promote ourselves back up. And so a lot of those conversations were, you know, and Sarah spent the whole year out here too, which is crazy difficult. And it's hard for everyone to be away from their home, to feel like they're sort of transplanted in a little bit and not to have your own space. So I think that played a part of, like, maybe our mental and my mental state. I mean, I definitely went in the roller coasters a few times this year. You can never expect where beach volleyball is going to take you. And I think just making sure that you enjoy each moment, like, you can get wrapped into it so easily. And I definitely think, you know, playing through injuries and playing through things that when you're hurt a little bit, I think it affects a lot of pieces, and can definitely affect your mental health. And so, you know, taking a step back when you need to, and I don't know, that's definitely something that I'm going to be looking forward to in this next year. Health. Like, we were talking a little bit earlier, going down the raw milk train and all that stuff. But definitely that's going to be a focus for me this coming year, because it's super important. And somebody said to me, actually, it was Julia Sude, who I just played with in Doha. Yeah. She was like, I always kept thinking of the bigger picture. Like, I want to be able to run around with my kids one day. And I'm like, yeah, I can hardly walk up the stairs right now. Like, I want to run around. Like, I don't want to injure myself to a point of no return of stopping. And so finding a balance for me to be like, okay, I'm in pain, and knowing what pain and injury, you know, finding that balance is going to be something that I'm really looking forward to, you know, finding in myself to be like, no, I should stop. Like, oh, I popped my big toe out in a practice. Like, I'm going to stop here instead of play through it while I can hardly move. You know, those little things. Yeah. Well, you carry your nicks and knacks and aches and pains very well, because I've never seen you play more volleyball and put more miles on a plane than I think anyone. We could probably statistically find this out in terms of miles, but I think you and Sarah, but you in particular, because you just took another lengthy trip to Doha. I think you probably traveled more than anyone. And every time I talk to you, you're smiling. You're always looking forward to playing. And I'm like, I would be burnt to hell. Yeah, no, I mean, it happens for sure. But I also love, like, I get so much energy going and seeing a lot of these people on tour and playing and competing against. I don't know. I do love it, which is part of it. I am extremely jet lagged right now. So, poor Alex. I mean, I've been like sleeping all the time, waking up at 4 a.m. still, even this morning. Your text to Delaney last night was so funny. She's like, Trav, Corinne just texted you and said, I just woke up from a nap myself. And it was like 9:15. I did. I actually had just woken up and then went up and went to bed. But yeah, Austin and I hopefully are on the same schedule. Yeah, we need you to be our sleep coach. Yeah, I really could help. I'm sure we could do this thing together. So yeah, well, I think that's actually sort of a practical question. How are you able to play at such a high level when you go from Chile to, where'd you go after Chile? China. To China to, was it India after that? We went to the Thailand to do a training camp. Okay. And then we went to Chiang Mai for the tournament, and then another training camp, and then the Philippines. Okay. And then back home. But what are your
like get the jet lag out steps, how do you get yourself back to normal or as close to normal as you can?
I've heard a lot, and I think it's a lot mental too, but your circadian rhythm is going to be messed up no matter what. I personally like landing at night so that I'm tired no matter what. I can sleep as much as I want on the plane. I'm still going to be tired when I get there.
Okay.
So for all the people that are like, stay up, I disagree personally for myself at least, because I can do it. I can fall asleep when I get there. Now if I get there in the morning, it's a battle for me. It's like I'm clawing to stay awake, and I'm usually going to bed at like 5 p.m. and I think I made it. I'm like, yes, it's 5. Pass out. And that actually happened to us in, I think, Rotterdam, and I was struggling so hard. But trying to land at night if you can. If you can't, I do try to stay up, but also your eating rhythm is supposed to affect you. We were talking about this too. To not eat on planes, which I do. I feel like nothing counts on the plane for me.
Yeah.
Nothing counts on the plane. Try to eat and sleep. Or, well, I don't know about eat, but eat whatever you can. That's good. Sleep as much as you can on the plane. And then when you land, eat at your normal times, like you want to the next days. And then try to fall asleep at a normal time. I also have a rule for myself that I don't follow always, but it's if I can wake up before 2 p.m. or 3, I'm flexible with myself, then I can take a nap. So if I land at like 6 a.m. and I have to, and I can wake up before 3, then that's okay.
Then you can do it.
Yeah.
Got it.
But, I try to get my blood moving a little bit the first day, try to bike or something, depending on what, if we move in the sand, maybe, but yeah.
Do you sauna? I always try to find a sauna wherever I go. I
love saunas, but I don't always do it on the road because sometimes we just don't have access.
Yeah.
And so it's not, but that's a great, if there is one, for sure I might try to if I'm awake.
Yeah. I remember, it's so funny, and you're probably starting to get this when you travel to the same tournaments internationally over and over, where you start to get a lay of the land.
Yeah.
I remember I was maybe in Kinzhou, and this is when I was working with 1440. So I was talking with Carrie almost every day. And Carrie goes, oh, you got to go. Oh, she was there. She goes, oh, you got to go to this sauna right here. And I was like, how do you know where a sauna is in Kinzhou, China?
Yeah.
And I remember she's Carrie Walsh Jennings. Like she's done this once or twice.
Yeah, no, it's awesome actually finding the same places. Like Itapema, I think this is our 2nd or 3rd time there. And we had our food places. We had our acai places. Yep. And we were going there every day.
What's the food place?
I'm blanking on the name too.
But we go there every time.
Yeah.
Betsy Flint, she hooked me up with that place the first time I went, and we went there every single day.
Every meal.
Gosh, I forget what it's called.
And this year, the owner came over to us and was like, we've printed out English menus for this. We prepared for this event specifically. And they're just the sweetest people ever. They were like, we have English speakers here today. And obviously me, I'm trying to speak Portuguese to them. I'm like, doing it everywhere. In China too, I was trying to use my small little Chinese. Well, like I want this, like just anything I can, and they're just like, okay.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
well, you love the language stuff because you speak German.
Yeah, pretty. I'm conversational.
Are you like proficient?
I can understand definitely.
Okay.
Most conversations.
Okay.
Again, forming my own sentences, I think it takes me a few days. So when I just played with Yuli, and she's German, and we were kind of speaking a little bit on the court and a little off the court. And by the last day, we were having conversations, but still in the beginning, when I flip right into it, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm thinking so much. My sentence structure's all over.
Right.
I can say funny things, like just the words.
Yeah.
But again, my sentence structure sounds like, and then by the end of it, I was definitely a lot better.
Yeah.
We actually took a video that I never posted because I'm embarrassed. Because once I listened to myself, I'm like, oh gosh, I don't sound like a native German speaker. In my head, I sounded perfect. And then I watched the video and I'm like, oh, but no, we took a video where we were saying things in German, and it was funny because Sasha Samoilovs was saying, we were sitting at dinner, and I was trying to tell Julie that she needed new silverware and stuff. And I was like, oh, you're going to have to get a fork. And she was like, what? And he was like, say it in German. I was like, yeah, du brauchst ein Gabel. And he was like, wait, you actually speak German? I thought you were faking it the whole time. I was like, no, I've been studying for like 4 years. So yeah.
But that's because you speak what, a little Chinese now too?
No, so my brothers speak Chinese. Okay. And so I've learned from what I can, just from them. I've picked up on the little things like, I want this, small, very small words.
Yeah.
But when I was over in China, I started studying it a little bit, and I was picking up some of the characters. And that was really fun because we were walking around with Tim and Kyle, and I'm like, this is the symbol for China. That literally means, and I was going through every symbol I saw.
They're great travel partners.
Yeah. I love
Tim's one of the greatest people in the world to travel with.
Yeah. Honestly,
he gets it.
All those people, it was me, Sarah, Tim, and Kyle, and I was like, you guys are great. I could go anywhere with you guys.
Yep.
So easy, just figure it out as it goes. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's the growth been with you and Sarah? I mean, on the court, we've seen it. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about your first AVP win. But I think you guys right now have played more tournaments than any other American team.
Together, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've gone through a lot of stages, as we've talked about before, like volleyball goes in waves. And I think we've come so far from where we started to where we are now that we know each other so well on the court. And it's really cool because I don't feel like in America, at least, we do this with people. And Sarah and I might have done it on like a higher level in a way of saying like we were basically living together. Right. We were doing everything together. And there's maybe a few other teams that do that. Like Taryn and Kristen seem also really close and that they do everything around each other a lot. But yeah, Sarah and I, I feel like we're kind of at that sister level where we can, again, have those hard conversations, have these conversations on the court and kind of go through them quickly, and we know what we need to say to each other, or we know if we do say something to each other that it might set each other off and all those ways. So yeah, I think it's been so interesting to be able to grow as an athlete, as a person, as everything, and both almost for like 2 years together a little bit. Yeah.
That's a long time. What's funny to think is that,
2 years,
in American beach standards, that's a long time.
Right. I know. And it's interesting because other countries, they definitely do this. They stick together with their partners for a lot longer. But I think it's definitely different because there's not that other, they might not have other people to play with. But just seeing the way that other people train and the way that they go about planning their season, it's a lot different. And maybe we're lucky and maybe it's hard that we have the AVP is great. And I'm super happy that we have the domestic tour, but that does make us go all year round with limited stops, and I think internationally, maybe they don't have those great domestic tours, not all of them at least. And so that they have a lot more breaks and they have a lot more time at home.
Yeah.
I just see like, especially the people that are playing Elite 16s that might not have a domestic tour, they have these pushes and their season is so mapped out with this is when we're playing a section of tournaments and then we're completely off or however they do it. And they definitely have that downtime a lot more. And I feel like in America and definitely what Sarah and I have been doing, we don't have a lot of downtime. We haven't had a lot of downtime in a while.
Yeah.
We went straight from Itapema in 2021, I guess. And we haven't had much downtime since. So
that's a good problem to have.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you can always choose to stop.
Right. There's a choice.
Like you didn't have to go play King of the Court in Doha, but the option's there. And I've never played a King of the Court. It's on the bucket list to do
amazing.
Because I think that is the only tournament, and especially tournament promoter and organizer, who has near unanimous reviews. I mean, Wilco is beloved by virtually everyone that I've talked to in the beach world.
I absolutely love Wilco. I love what they're doing. I think that they're so transparent about everything that they do. If there's an issue, I remember one tournament, they had a sponsor pull out right away and they told everybody, listen, we have to drop the prize money. We're still going to put on the tournament. This is what's happened. Like they were so upfront with everybody and everybody was okay with it because the communication is just so good. They're so on top of it. Like they really care about everybody that's there. Wilco makes sure that he goes and say hi's to everybody. Like it's such it feels so tight knit in a way. And I can't say enough good things about them. Like they're so fun. It's fun to watch. We were talking about it at dinner. Somebody brought it up and they were just like, look at everybody right now that's a player at dinner. What is everyone doing? Everyone had their phone up watching the games, like every single person. And they provide for the people that are there playing in the tournament, they provide us access to watch it for free, which is great. So everybody was like, we had it on actually on our TV in Doha. They were playing it on the local TV. We all had access to it. So in our rooms, as we were going to bed, we had it on every day. Like we almost watched every section because it's really fun too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the candor and honesty when they say, hey, a sponsor pulled out. This is why the prize money's going down. And if people were upset by it, like it's totally justified, but their honesty is awesome. It's so refreshing because I remember when the AVP they canceled the Pro Series in Atlantic City like a week after the Tour Series was kind of a disaster there. And they're like, oh, due to unforeseen logistical issues. And we're like, you can just say it's a crappy beach and we're moving. And we'd really like it if you said that. But like it's this like smoke and mirror stuff. The honesty is awesome.
Yeah, I think that them being so upfront with what's happening, like even if a tournament, if they put it on the calendar, they're like, hey, this one might not happen, but we're doing all that we can. And they even, for the calendar next year for their tours, they're like, we got to kind of wait to see when the tours are. Like we want to make it around the other tournaments because we want people to come. So we're going to have to let you guys know later, but this is what we're looking for. And to just have that information of like, okay, these are the months, these are the time periods that they want to do it, these are the places that they want to do it, like it's awesome. The information passed is just phenomenal.
Yeah. How many have you played? Or how many did you do this year?
That's a great question.
Because you did Rotterdam?
Maybe three. Hamburg, Rotterdam, and Doha.
Okay. Yeah. I heard Rotterdam was awesome.
Yeah, it was super cool. Yeah. They took us on a cruise and we had
So
dinner
sweet.
on the river. It was a river cruise and they had dinner, like came up from the bottom of the floor. It was like lifted out of the floor.
Whoa.
All the food and then we all just got in line. It was really, really cool.
I feel like the player camaraderie and morale is so high at those two. Because you got Americans playing with Germans, for example. It's just new teams that you wouldn't see. It's fun.
Yeah, and I mean, and that probably might come from the fact that there's not like points and, we're not competing for Olympic spots or any of that. So it really is, we are having just a great time. And we're playing volleyball. It's super fast paced. There's music. We actually didn't have music the last day in Doha because they went into official mourning, it was very different playing without music. Somebody in Kuwait, I think, had passed away that was related to the Qatar royal family. It's a complete sidetrack. But they weren't allowing music for 3 days. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. It was just a whole different...
That's a long moment of silence.
Yeah. Country of silence in that part. But,
no kidding.
Yeah.
But I think that Wilco Nijland, for people who don't know Wilco, I think one of the things that he's really dialed in is the volume of events. I think is right because it's not a gimmick style, but it's sort of more of an exhibition style.
Sure, yeah.
And if you have too many, you're going to get diminishing returns. And I think he's really hit the perfect level where once teams need sort of a fun break where they still want to play volleyball and have some fun, bam, you have it. And it's he has like 4 to 6 per year, maybe.
Exactly,
I think that's such a great number.
No, it is. And they do such a good job of making them that fun event. They take care of the athletes well. We've got great food most of the time. I mean, we had great food in Doha and in Rotterdam.
Well, Doha, Doha's great. Anytime you go to an event there, they do it right.
Yeah, for sure. It's I've actually been there 4 times now, which is crazy. I mean, last year I actually flew there, I think 7 times, just because it was the place to get everywhere from.
That's the center. That's the hub. We talked about Istanbul.
Yeah, Istanbul and Doha are for sure. Like just to get you over there, and then you can go from there to wherever you need to go.
One of my favorite things I like asking people who are like, you're not new to the professional side of the game, but it's still becoming it's now, I think, freshly becoming your norm that this is what you do.
Yeah.
Do you think about what young Corinne would think of your life right now, where you were in Doha laying over 7 times.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That is crazy. I think, little Corinne would be stoked.
Yeah.
And even now I am stoked. I love the travel. I love the part of, getting to see the world and competing against people from all over, and also getting to meet these people and know them well. And, it's just like, it's awesome. I think it's amazing. But for sure, it's a lot, like, to travel so much. But again, I even graduating from college, I remember saying something like, I want to do something where I travel. And I think I do that.
You've got it.
Yeah.
What countries are left that you haven't been to that you want to go to?
Okay, there's this.
Let's hear 'em.
Australia. I haven't been to Australia,
No
which is
kidding.
crazy. I know. Australia, New Zealand, that whole area, the whole Oceania area, I definitely want to go to. Egypt is high on my list, although I don't know about right now,
Give it some time.
Yeah. Just because it's close, to all that. But I just think the history there is unbelievable in that area.
Deep.
And it's it's something that I love. I love history and, getting to see a lot of these places that have been around for so long. So those 2 are high on my list. I want to go to Antarctica.
Okay.
Because I think if I do that too, I'll hit all 7 continents with Australia. So
have you played in Africa yet?
yeah. I've been to...
Did you guys play Cape Town last year?
Yes.
Okay.
Cape Town, Rwanda, and Morocco.
Okay. Yes, you've hit it a couple times.
Really cool places too.
I've heard Agadir is sweet.
Yeah, Agadir was interesting because it felt like a touristy area almost. And I mean, it was beautiful. The beaches were beautiful. The area was cool. There's a nice surf spot right around there. But I also have a friend, Nora, from Morocco, and she's from the north, more Rabat area, and she was saying that I have to go there. So I need to go back, and I definitely want to surf there because I've heard the waves are just unbelievable. So.
I'm surprised you didn't surf when you guys played last year.
Yeah.
Did you play last year?
Yes. But we tried to, but again, we got into I think we just left the next day and we had to come back for Fort Lauderdale. That's what it was. Yeah.
Got it.
We had a flight booked and we didn't have time. But we did.
You did miss that one, huh?
Yeah. I did not miss that one. Unfortunately, though, I did miss, my one from Chile to LA, which also made me miss my one from LA to China.
Whoops.
Actually, though, there's luckily Cathay Pacific was awesome, and I didn't tell them that I had missed my first flight, but the airline had given me a sheet of paper to help me rebook with Cathay if I needed it because of the situation. They were like, yeah, you're going to miss that flight. I'm like, yeah, I know. But I was looking at flights of like anywhere to get me to China before the tournament at a reasonable time. And I remember I called Sarah and she's like, well, let me know before I board to know if I should board. Like, are you going to come? Are you going to get here in time? I'm like, I'll let you know. So I looked up all these flights and they were all ridiculous to get me to Haiku. And I ended up looking at flights close. I was like, anywhere close to Hainan that's, I can take another flight from somebody else, because they were ridiculous times. It was like 31 hours. I don't know. It just was not, the layovers were crazy. So I ended up being able to change my flight on Cathay to a different destination and then booked another hopper flight from there with like an hour layover. And I got there only 9 hours after I would have.
Really?
Which is crazy.
That's good scrambling.
Yeah, no, it was a great scramble. And the other options were going to be like 2 days later, which would have been Wednesday. We play on Thursday. It was not going to.
And you can't.
No.
The first international tournament I ever played, or first FIVB, was that one in Kinzhou. It was me and Mike Bogue. And Bogue wanted to get there in qualifiers Thursday. He wants to get there Wednesday. It's like, Bogue, we're traveling across the world.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not flying 40 hours to Kinzhou, China to go be super jet lagged 1 day of training. Like, if we're we're getting there on Monday. Wednesday. And of course, have I told you about the guy? The guy died on my flight. Oh,
no, I did not hear about this.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there and have a full row to myself. It's beautiful. A couple hours into the flight, I hear these calls over the loudspeaker like, do we have any doctors on board.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm not a doctor, so I go right back to sleep. But then it's every 10 minutes. Do we have a doctor on board? Do we have a doctor on board? And so I'm in the first row of economy. Then you have the curtains, and then it's business. And so in between the curtains, a guy had passed out.
Oh
And so they
my
bring out the
gosh.
defibrillators, the whole thing.
That's
And
crazy.
so we end up emergency landing. I mean, we're going over the ocean, so there's not a whole lot. We end up emergency landing somewhere like a military base, and we're just there for like 3 hours.
And where was the military base?
Off of Russia somewhere.
Okay.
I took a picture of it on my phone. I took the picture of the map, and so we're just there. And so they tell us that guy died. They put him in cargo, and so then
crazy.
we land in Xiamen, and obviously it's not a normal deplaning situation, and so we were on the plane for, I think it was like 22 hours,
That's insane.
and so we obviously miss our layover. So we end up getting there like late Tuesday night, and Bo was like, "It wouldn't have been that different."
Honestly,
like
it wouldn't have
fine,
been.
So yeah,
Oh,
we ended
man.
up qualifying somehow, but that happened.
No, really, there's some crazy things. But usually, I mean, I've had a friend that told me that he had somebody die on their
Okay.
flight as well. And if they die already, like if they're already dead, then they won't divert because there's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. That blows my mind. They just put a blanket over them and kept going.
It was a wild experience. It's like, is this what happens every time you play in the FIVB?
Yeah. That's your first trip too.
I'm retiring.
Yeah, no. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, you have plenty of stories. I feel like your travels were more successful this year than you had
Absolutely.
a tough string.
Yes.
Was it 21?
It was 21 and
Okay.
a little into 22, but we changed it because everyone kept calling me bad luck. They'd see me on their plane and be like, "Oh no." And I get it, because I mean
Reason.
it was an entire year, I think, that I went that I never ended up getting to my destination at the same time or the same way that I thought it would, which is really impressive because I traveled a lot that year too.
Yes, you did.
And where I was like sprinting through or something happened, I think Allie lost her back. Like there was a bunch of things that would come up, but we changed the narrative. I started calling myself Good Luck and
Manifest it.
yeah. And actually in 2022, I got upgraded to first class. I was like, this is great. Like a random upgrade on Air Morocco.
You were due.
I think so. Yeah. It was great. I was like, I am good luck. I'm all this. And actually, when I missed my flight in Chile, I was talking to a tennis player from Mexico, and he was telling me how he was bad luck. And I knew he was on my flight. And I was like, you can't say that. You cannot say that. You're good luck.
Yeah.
Just put it out in the universe and take it. And then we both, well, I'm going to say it was his fault, but we both missed our flight. And I was just like, how could you do this? Not that it actually had anything to do with the fact that he was saying he was bad luck, but yes, we did. It's unfortunate.
So I kind of want to like backtrack a bit back to Sakurima. So you guys came in a lot of points, like you said. From what I remember, you were a high seed in La Paz. Were you one?
We were two.
Esme and
We were
Zoe
tied
won.
with the points. We were tied at points with the person before us.
Okay.
And somebody in the main draw, I think. We had 18-20
Okay.
or something, which to be in a qualifier with 18-20 now is crazy.
Yeah.
But the points were inflated last year. And again, we didn't play a lot of like the late ones. After Cape Town, we were done. So yeah, it was... Yeah.
So you come in with a lot of points, high seed and challenge qualifiers, and then boom, 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 qualifier losses. Entry points are pretty much gone.
Over half. We cut them in over half.
And that's a hard thing because now you're looking at the stipend and it's like, shit. Right. So stipend's out. How do you bounce back the way you guys did?
I think it took definitely some time mentally in some places, but we still had our goals to do well. When I write out my goals at the beginning of the year, and there was still a lot domestically and still a lot internationally. So I think we kept focusing on that. We looked at what we could do. You know, we went with Arthur again. We set up our coaching and where we wanted to be and everything, because last year, again, we were split between Florida and California, and it's really hard to do that. Even Sarah being out here is really difficult because we're not both at home and we both don't have that separate time where we're like have our own space. And so I think without that, I think just setting up our whole entire system around us helped a lot. So getting Arthur, deciding this is where we're going to be, having a schedule that was put forth. And again, none of that came super quickly. Like Artie was working with other teams when Carrie was still possibly coming back. And we were kind of the third one on the list because he already had 2 other teams that he was already with. And eventually we became like, we moved our way up because, Carrie ended up, I think, getting injured. And so we kind of worked our way up. But again, none of that came really, really quickly. So again, it felt like it took a lot of time. But I guess for it all to happen in 1 year, I think maybe it's not. Maybe just when you're in it and you're going through it, it feels like a long time.
Yeah.
But I think it changed actually for us at the Pan Am qualifier. Like we hadn't been doing great. We were struggling every once in a while. Things would be good and then not. Like every day was so different, I feel like. And then we went and won the Pan Ams, and we were like, and I think we won it fairly well. Who
was it on the women's side of that qualifier? We played
Kim and Tegan in the finals.
Okay.
And I remember
they had a great year.
Yeah, they did. They were playing great. And they still are playing great. They finished well too, which is awesome. But like that whole qualifier, we were just in a flow and a rhythm, and I'm like, we can do this. Like we know that we can be at that level, and that was right after we started working with Artie. But I don't think it would have been more than a few weeks or something, maybe 1 week or 2.
Yeah.
And just having that little bump. I think every time you get that little here, it's possible, you guys can do it. It's hard to not take those opportunities. And so then we dove in again and kept going.
Yeah.
And then even before Hermosa.
I was going to say, you skipped over a small little event there.
No, I was getting there. That's just awesome. That was unbelievable to be able to be at our home beach. Like we practice here every day right at 8th Street. And then to win our first AVP in Hermosa, I mean, it was like, with all my family here and everything, it was great. Like my brothers came down,
super fun.
Yeah. But again, that week before Hermosa, I remember we had a tough week. We were both every day was kind of just like a grind, mentally, physically, everything. We were playing against teams and we'd do just okay. We'd have close games or I don't know. It wasn't smooth sailing, I'd say, going into Hermosa. And I think Delaney told me this actually, but I remember somebody saying, it doesn't even matter, if you have a bad warm-up. I've had some of the worst warm-ups in my life and then played the best games of my life. And I was thinking about that going into Hermosa, it doesn't matter the week that we've had, it just matters how we play. And I think that we played the most in the flow. We felt so free in Hermosa, and it was so just, I don't know, relieving in a way to just be able to play the way that we wanted to play. I think defensively too, we opened it up for ourselves. I think we were playing a lot of ball, and it was so easy. And those moments they just make it so fun, to be able to just play free and fun, and then to win. It's like I don't know. It's what you wish for every tournament, obviously. Right. But I think going back to it didn't matter that the week that we had before. Sometimes we could have had the worst week, and I remember it was tough. And I remember thinking that exact thought, it doesn't matter what the warm up looks like, doesn't matter what this looks like, it just matters how you play, on the court at the moment. And that's how it went for me, at least. It was great. That was my favorite tournament of the year.
I can't imagine why.
Well, yeah, it's rivaling Pan Am's though still, because Pan Am's is just an amazing experience.
That's what Try's always talked about. Pan Am's is something everyone should do. But with Hermosa, you can sort of do the mental jujitsu you did where, you know, it doesn't matter if we have a bad warm up or a bad week of practice. Like it's the game that matters. But on the court, what was different with the way you guys played? Because you said it just felt easy. Yeah,
I think that, I mean, I honestly think maybe I can attribute it to the week that we had before, because we were trying so hard that week and everything felt like effort for me. And when we finally got onto the court, it was like, let's just play free. Like that was just kind of it. Like, let's just go, you know, we did a lot of like, Sarah, if you're free, me, like I'm free to make some moves the way that I want to go. Like, let's serve aggressive. And again, serving, I think we served pretty well that tournament too. But let's not think so much, you know? And that week that we had was so much thinking. And then when we finally got there, it's like, throw it in the back. Let's just play.
Yeah.
And I think that's how, you know, we got to have that like wonderful little tournament that we had.
You're saying everyone should have just a shit week of practice so you can go in and say, you know, we're not going to get worse. Let's just play.
You know, it can't be worse than what we just didn't know. No, but just having that to be like, we tried so hard. Like, let's let ourselves have that freedom. Like let ourselves, we know, you know, we trust each other so much. We know the work that we put in. We know how much time and effort and sacrifices that we've both made to play this sport and to compete at the level we do and to travel and all that stuff. And so trust ourselves on the court, you know, like I trust Sarah fully. She trusts me. And when we have that, it was like, you know, great.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that week of Hermosa, me and JD were at best a AA team. The whole week of practice, I was like, D, we're not going to score double digits one time. Like, this is going to be awful. And then we take a 7th, and I have no idea how or why, but it was, if you were to go back and watch film of us that week of practice, you'd be like, these two are playing in that tournament?
Oh, that's so funny.
We were so bad. Sometimes it helps, though. It just frees you up.
Yeah. And that was an amazing story, too. We were all watching. My whole family was trying to go see all of your games. They were like, they're playing so well. Oh, my gosh. And I was like, yeah, like, you know.
It was fun.
Yeah.
There's nothing like Hermosa, too. I know everyone is big in Manhattan, but for me, Hermosa, I just think it's the greatest.
Yeah. And I really love both of these tournaments because they both feel like so much at home, but also Hermosa is where we train every day. You know, it's really in our backyards. Yeah. And so that one it couldn't have been more perfect. Like everybody was there for me, at least. I was like, this is my family's. My brother came down from Santa Barbara. My other brother came up from Huntington, and they all got there for the finals. They didn't actually get there for the games before. But they were driving up when we were in the semis, so they could have missed the whole thing.
Right.
Or if we wouldn't have made it. But yeah, it's so nice. And then it was funny, we had the 8th Street because Pomp's team won too. And we always practice right next to Theo and Trevor. Yeah. So it was like, that's fun. The whole 8th Street held it down.
Yeah. I'm curious because that tournament was, on paper, everyone I think could have looked at it as what a great opportunity, because you had the big dogs were in Stade.
Yeah.
And you looked at teams 1 through 13 and it's like, I don't know. Anyone could have won that. Did you look at it and let that get to you at all, that what an opportunity that was given how open the field was?
Yeah, I didn't actually look at it because I've had that thought before of like, man, this is a great opportunity. We can go win this. And then boom, you know, like I think a lot of putting those expectations on yourself doesn't maybe help me as a player in those moments sometimes. I don't know. But I feel like when I've had a lot of those thoughts of like, oh, we could win this, like we're going to win this. Yeah. Or just could create expectations maybe more subconsciously. And I think also maybe having that humbling week before could have been like, you know what, let's just go play some free volleyball, let's have some fun, and let's see where it takes us. That was a lot better of a mentality for me to go in. And it's not a I don't care what happens mentality. Like I am very competitive, and I sometimes let it maybe even get the best of me in some cases. Like I can't play card games very well, and board games. I mean, it's a struggle every time.
It depends what you mean. You can't play them very well. You can probably win them very well.
Yes, I do like to win them, and I do. But if I don't win them, it's like so much internal turmoil, which I do not need because it's supposed to be fun.
Winning's fun.
Winning is fun, yes. But in some cases, like off the court again, sometimes I feel like I have to win, even though I'm not very good at it. It's ridiculous. Like pickleball. Oh my gosh. But anyway, like having that moment of not putting the expectations on myself, I think it helped in that tournament.
Because as you mentioned, you were kind of free. And you stayed free. Did you guys lose a match in the tournament?
We dropped 2 sets. I think. But yeah.
Because your semifinal
was Molly and that was a
Maddie,
close
and
one.
That was a barn burner, right?
Yeah, that was exhausting. I hugged Sarah at the end when I shot like a little jumbo. I just remember because somebody had sent me the play after, and I shot a jumbo. Like kind of screamed, but it was a very soft, low effort scream. And hugged Sarah. I was like, I am so tired. Because that was defensive. Like, oh my gosh, Molly had me running all over the court constantly.
She'll keep the ball off the floor.
Yeah, it was exhausting. I was running back and forth, and she would send it over on one, and I'm like, put the ball away. Just put it away. You know? Oh man.
As you guys made your way through the tournament, the 9th place, to the quarters, to the semis, to the finals, did that mount at all, or do you continue sort of keeping the expectations low? I feel like it had to have been inevitable that you start to realize, oh, wow, we're getting pretty close.
Yeah, I think in the semis is when I realized, like, okay, we're getting pretty close. After we won against Emily and Megan, who I think they were a great team, and they were playing well. And once we won that game to put us into the semis, I was like, we can do it. But again, I was keeping it low a little bit. But I was like, this is a great opportunity. In my head, obviously, it did come up every once in a while. But
yeah, I feel like a win, because beating Emily Stock and Megan Kraft, that's a good win. And those are 2 very good players. I feel like while the expectations and pressure might ramp up, so too does your confidence.
Yeah.
So there's sort of a relationship there that I think you get that confidence that, okay, maybe we belong on this stage. And then, I don't know, that kind of gave you that level that you could reach. Yeah,
I definitely believe that. I mean, I think our sport for sure is so mental that being able to be super confident is such a plus. And I see it all the time. I'm like, man, if you can have that confidence all the time to just bang out on every ball and like just go for it every single time, it's crazy what you can do. And that's something I also see in King of the Court too, because you get some of these crazy rallies because people are banging balls every time because, you know, it's one opportunity that you get every so often.
Right.
And so I think to be able not to let the game almost catch up to you a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And to just play the points a little bit separately. Like I'm looking to win this point. Like I'm not looking at it like, oh, I'm up 17-13. I've got some wiggle room. Like, no, like I'm looking to win this point.
Yeah.
Like I'm this point, the like separation of point separation. I don't know.
Like
it's definitely something that I think helps.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always happen for me. Like definitely I've found myself sitting at 2017 and been like, we're good. You know, we just need one more side out. And then all of a sudden we're at 2020 and I'm like, how did this happen? Granted. And, you know, I mean, mental, strength goes up and down as well sometimes. So,
yeah.
And that's been something I've worked on a lot this year too, which has been a fun challenge, I'd say.
How do you work on that? What are your practices?
I mean, there's a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
And granted, I'm sure like mental psychs can tell you a lot better, but I've been doing off the court, you know, some visualization, meditation, all that stuff, but also the way that I talk to myself on the court has been definitely a big part. I also think I'm a very visual person. So if I find myself getting distracted, I'll try to lock on to something, like locking onto the ball before people serve. Is something that helps me like refocus. Because you wouldn't believe it. Once you start thinking about it, of like, I need to focus on the ball, like every ounce of my focus is directly looking at the ball. You wouldn't believe, like, my eyes were over here. I'm like, what am I doing? Where's my mind? Where are my eyes? Like, it's really interesting. So I've definitely done that in games. Also the point separation focus, or not necessarily like playing for the score again. I mean, there's a whole rabbit hole I could go down that I've been
well, it's such an interesting topic because it's the mental side of it isn't like the physical where, okay, you need to get stronger, go do 10 squats of this weight with this amount of rest. Everyone's so different, and you do meditation, visualization. Other people do just straight up breath work. Some people journal and do what do you call them? Not manifestations. When you write it out.
Yeah, I think it's
whatever they're called.
Affirmations.
I don't know.
Yeah. Or
like everyone's so different.
Yeah.
And what works for me might not work for you.
And even for me on the same day, something can work, or on a different day, something works for me, and other times it's not working for me. So yeah, definitely breath work too has been something big.
Do you use apps or anything?
I do. I actually use Balance right now.
Balance. I haven't heard of that one.
They gave out a year for free.
Okay.
And I do it usually to fall asleep, and it's great. Every time that I put it on, it's a 10-minute thing, a 10-minute like sleep cycle thing where they talk you through things and help you relax all the way through. Every single time I've fallen asleep.
You fall asleep before it's over?
Yes. Yeah. And I wake up and it's still, my phone's open, sitting on the side of my bed, and I'm like, that was amazing. That was great.
I used to use Calm, and Calm has a couple like that, and I would wake up, especially when I was in Bulgaria, because me and A-Rob would have different rooms sometimes, and so I would just put one of the Calm things on the other side of the bed, and I would wake up at 4 a.m. and still be going. I was like, great job, Calm.
Yeah.
But there's this app that I like called Oak that's free.
Oh, yeah.
And it does, it's mostly just breathing exercises. So I always like doing 5 minutes of box breathing. My routine is when the match in front of me starts.
Okay.
That's when I'll do 5 minutes of box breathing, and then I'll get into my warm-ups. And I don't know, that's just helped me a lot.
No, I like that. I actually have been doing box breathing a lot on airplanes.
Okay.
For, I don't know, whatever reason. I'm like, I've got time.
You got time to do it?
I'll just in for 5, whatever it is. But yeah, there's definitely been a bunch of different ways. And we've had access to some of the sports psychs from USA Volleyball. And it's been awesome. Like talking not only about mental health, but everything. And I think that, like, I don't know if it's later in life that I feel like I've been having more anxiety, but I feel like, or maybe I just didn't notice it when I was a kid. I just thought it was like random energy. But I think that I do maybe have some of that like anxious where I can get really, it's not nervous, but it's like, I don't know. And so talking to some of these and then having some of these, especially breathing exercises to like find your neutral, is super helpful for all of that.
I think being an athlete, we're just all fidgety people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'll just fidget, and I'll just be fidgeting around, and then I'll do 5 minutes of box breathing, and it's amazing how much it takes all that fidgety energy, and it just sort of wrestles it together, and then you're like, oh, okay, and then it's so easy to focus on just one task, and you get fidgety, and you do it again.
Yeah, but you have to realize that you're getting fidgety, even, because I don't always realize it. I do it all the time. I'm like fidgeting with things, shaking my leg, which I always do.
Well, you should try. I always know that it's time to wrap up the podcast because like try to start doing this, and then by the end of it, he's like jackhammering his leg. I'm like, okay, it's time to land the plane.
Yeah, Sarah actually does it to me too. I'll be sitting here, and I've actually been almost falling asleep, and my leg's still kicking, and Sarah will hold it, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm trying. I didn't, I don't realize that it's going, and it's actually kind of relaxing for me sometimes.
Yeah. Do you twitch?
Absolutely. Actually, when I was sleeping next to Yuli, where beds were like right here and here, I had one of like a massive, just like, I hadn't fallen asleep yet, but both of my hands, my whole body just like, slamming the bed.
Yeah.
And I rolled over and she was still awake. And I was like, sorry. That's all I said. I was like, sorry. But I have one arm that flips all the time. It's just my right arm. And so no matter where Sarah and I go, I always sleep on the side that I can flop without hitting her.
Without punching her.
Yeah.
I've gotten some bad ones on planes. And so now, and I got it to the point where I looked up why this happens. And one, athletes get it more than non-athletes because we're just twitchier people in general, especially explosive ones. And it's sort of kind of an evolutionary thing where if you're falling asleep in an unfamiliar environment, and it's your body's response saying, I don't know where we are. We don't know if this is safe. Like, wake up.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'll just like wake up on a plane. Like, I'm sorry for punching you again.
Yes.
Random stranger.
Yes. I have hit the seat in front of me. I've almost hit the person beside me. Yeah.
Yeah. I slugged the person next to me one day. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I sent coffee flying one time.
Yeah.
I was like, my bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so impressive how twitchy I feel like we can be on planes, and it happens on planes a ton for me
all the time. Yeah.
And occasionally in beds. I mean, it could go either way for me because sometimes, like, I have fallen asleep on the person next to me on an airplane, random stranger. She was like smaller than me too. I don't even know how it happened. And oh my gosh, but that was a while ago. And I've also had somebody fall asleep on me.
And then you're like, what do I?
Yeah,
I don't want to interrupt you.
What do I do? Yeah, I had to go to the bathroom, but I was like, they're asleep. Right. And I just waited. I was like, maybe if I like lift up, she'll lift her head up. And it took a while. I'm not gonna lie. She was on me for like 30 to 40 minutes. And the whole time I had to go to the bathroom.
That's so funny.
Yeah. But then again, the lady that I fell asleep on, she also just let me sleep. So yeah. It could go either way.
Well, getting back to Hermosa, I have no idea how we got on that path. Yeah, but back to Hermosa, you guys were in the finals and you played almost a flawless match. From what I remember watching it, and I was talking to Delaney, and I was like, I don't know what Savvy and Megan are supposed to do right now because they were the hottest. I mean, that was the underdog Cinderella. Everyone was looking at them like, damn, this would be really fun. Megan's first main draw. Like they didn't have any practice together, but you guys played almost a perfect match. How'd you get into a flow state, or what helped you anyway play that high level on a stage you'd never been before?
Yeah. That whole game, I hardly remember it. I mean, I remember our game plan and I remember like what we were trying to do. But besides that, I don't remember what we did on the court. And I remember we didn't talk that much. Like we talked about what was happening in the games, but it wasn't a lot of external thinking. And I feel like that kind of just helped us stay in the flow almost, if that makes sense. But I remember I was so tired from the game against Molly and Maddie. I just had my legs up, and I think we didn't warm up until like we had 30 minutes maybe once we started moving, because once I took my legs off the wall, like after putting them down, we had like 30 minutes to warm up. And it wasn't too much, but again, it was just a very focused energy, which I feel like is sometimes hard to get to. But again, just that communication of we had our game plan and all we were looking to do was, make it happen. Yeah. And I remember once we got to like, it might have been 2016 or something. In the last point of the game, I was like, okay, you can finally let yourself think it. You could win. I might, like, we might win this game, like we might do it. But it was really like the last point of the game where I ever let it come into my mind. Even after we won the first set, I was thinking, okay, they're going to come out. They're going to be really strong. They might have made a lot of errors. They might have been nervous, but that's not going to happen for the second set. Right. We need to stay focused. And I didn't let myself go down the path of we could win it because I don't want to get ahead of myself. I wanted to stay where we were. But obviously on the last point, that could be the one. Yeah.
What was it like when that last point went down?
I mean, I served an absolute free ball. I remember this because I was like going back and a few thoughts went through my mind and I'm looking down at the ball And the first one was like, don't miss it. I'm like, oh, you can't think that. And I was like, really? You can't just let that one come in. And I was like, okay, put it in. Just put it in. We've got points to spare. Like, put it in. And so it was a free ball. It was a little lofty serve, which, it was all good because we got the point.
Yeah.
Sarah got the block over, and it was good. But I could actually see it. And rewatching it, I hear myself going, grab it. Like, do it.
Yeah.
Just yelling at Sarah. But yeah, it was, a great moment of having, those thoughts, not letting, it was a good mental battle, actually, even to be able to stay focused that entire time.
Yeah.
But I think that we do well on that stage. Like, even when we talked about this a little bit earlier, I was just saying I got a medal from the FIVB for Portugal in 2022. And in that final as well, like we had that focused energy where we weren't thinking a lot external. It was just one point at a time, and this is our game plan, and that's all that we're focusing on doing. And I remember thinking after we won the first set, like, we could win this, and I won't make that mistake again. I can't let myself get too far ahead of it, because if I'm thinking about that, then I'm thinking about, I feel like I'm losing points more almost, instead of, fighting each point. They're not mine to lose, we have to go get them. We have to win, like, play to win, basically, is a better mindset than when I think, oh, we can win it. Then it feels like we already, for me at least, like I might already have it and now it's slipping, and I don't ever like to go that direction with my mind.
Yeah.
I always want to be like, oh, I can work so hard that I can get there.
Yeah. I like that. These aren't mine to lose. That's a good mindset.
Yeah. So again, I won't try to make those mistakes anymore.
Yeah. Do you think that winning, because a lot of times, like, you and Sarah had been on the cusp of a breakthrough, and I think making the finals in Espino was a pretty significant breakthrough, especially when playing Maria Fey and Taliqua the way you did. But do you think that winning that AVP just sort of breaks the ice? Because you look at it with someone like a Trevor. He was 0-8 in finals, breaks the ice, and now no one's won more AVPs than him the last 5 years. Yeah,
that's awesome. And I think it could. Like, it definitely mentally, I think it could go in a few different ways. You might be able to take it to the I expect to win, or the which I think Trevor hasn't. I think Trevor's gone more this direction where, like, I know I can win. Like, I know that I'm capable of it, and like I have that confidence in myself again, and you can play up to that level. And so I think I definitely want to always keep it on the I can play up to that level rather than the I'm expecting now, which is...
Do you think that it's playing up to that level, or do you think it is just you? Because I don't know if, like, you played up. I think you just played like you.
Yeah,
and
I
that
think
when you don't play like that, I think that you have more of a dip. I think that's more of like your norm that you can play
I
at.
sure hope so. No, but I know what you mean. Yeah, I think it's more just the confidence in yourself to be able to know that you are there. Let's say it that way. I like that better too, because I think that a lot of people, including myself, have moments of playing really well but not fully feeling really confident, like they don't feel like they should win this match, which it's a volleyball game. Like, I think anybody can win at any time, it's, especially in beach volleyball, there's so much variability, and there's so, like, it really is. I mean, I was thinking about this today, like, to have that trust and relationship with your body to be like, it's not just going to fail me out of nowhere. Like, it could, but like, I'm just saying the times that it does are way less than the times that it wouldn't. We put so much work in, we put so many hours on the beach. Like, the body knows what it should do and can do. Let it do it a little bit.
Agreed. And you look strong.
Oh, thank you.
You've had a long season. Like, you come back pretty healthy.
Yeah. My mom was just saying I looked like I lost weight. So this is thank you.
Well, I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, I know. I me, I was gone from October
for a minute. So,
yeah, really. But no,
I commentated. I saw you from very far away.
Afar, through a screen, I guess.
Through a screen, yeah.
But no, I think before we left on our trip, we talked a lot with Miles in the USA gym, and we went pretty hard in the gym before we left because we knew we might not get steady, consistent lifts while we're on the road for the entire rest of the year. And so we were going 4 days a week, and I feel like it was great. In the beginning, I was feeling really, really good. And then as I got down to the later ends of the season, I could feel especially in Doha, like this last trip to Doha, I think I definitely felt my body. I was like, ooh, I haven't been in the gym in a while. Yeah. Ooh, I haven't been lifting like I normally have earlier.
They have great resources in Doha, at least. Their gym's awesome out there.
Yeah, they do. So, I mean, I wish I would have used it more, but again, I got there kind of late. I was a little jet lagged. It was the last tournament of the year. I knew that I was taking time off, and it wasn't necessarily like I need to be on my strict regimen. I was up at the pool
and like Doha, I mean, that's the frosting on the cake at the end of the year, the king of the court to close it. I feel like it's just sort of a celebratory event.
It was kind of, and for me too, I got to speak a lot of German with Julia, and it was more of like this is a really fun, I want to go and enjoy playing volleyball. Yeah. And so even though I could feel definitely parts of my body that, if I was in season, I would be like, okay, I need to really, find the time to take care of it and get back in shape and all this stuff. But it was a really fun icing on the cake. Yeah.
And I know you're jet lagged, so I don't want to keep you for crazy long, but I do want to touch on Pan Am's and what an experience that was, because everyone who has gone says it's unbelievable. Just one of their favorite memories. I'm curious, what was it like?
It was unbelievable, and definitely will be a memory that I'll take with me for forever. And I'm stoked that we got to bring home a medal for the U.S. And I mean, how it would seem, I've never been to the Olympics. That is a goal that I'd love to achieve one day. But it felt like a mini Olympics. Like, you have the village. Every country has their own buildings that they stay in. And so you're staying with a bunch of athletes from a bunch of different sports. They have a little athlete area for just the USA athletes. So we were in there all the time, talking with people from other sports, watching other sports on TV. I got to learn so much about like Taekwondo, all these climbing sports. They're crazy. I mean, they're awesome athletes, a lot of bikers. It was really, really fun. The racquetball team came and watched us, and we got kind of close with them. And because they finished early, the basketball girls tried to come and watch. It was awesome. And they actually qualified for the Olympics there. Like, that's such a cool. Yeah. So some sports like the rock climbers, the 3v3 basketball, a bunch of other sports were qualifiers for Paris.
Interesting. Okay.
So it was really, really fun because we're watching these, games, and they're coming in afterwards with their gold medal, and they're like, we just qualified for Paris. Like, what an amazing experience.
That's super cool. Yeah.
And the racquetball team, they don't have it's not an Olympic sport. So this is their big moment, and they won gold too. It was awesome.
That's fun.
It was just so fun and there was such a camaraderie too of the athletes in Team USA. Like, everybody's so stoked for each other to win and to like bring something back, and they all want to support and see each other. And it was just really cool. And even from other countries, getting to see them. And I actually saw some of obviously the beach volleyball players we know, but a girl that I went to Pepperdine with, Luisa Stefani, she's a Brazilian tennis player for doubles, and she was there, and I had no idea she was there.
Very cool.
But she went and won. I mean, she's a stud. She got a bronze in Tokyo.
Okay.
So she's she is awesome. But it was just so exciting to see, and they have food for us. They've got like players tent, like a fun tent, Dance Dance Revolution, which obviously I was on, and ping pong, all of that, and hammocks. I was reading books out there. It was just so fun. Yeah. And Chile was beautiful. Like, I had no idea the landscape of Chile before, and I didn't realize that it would have such beautiful Alps, and I mean, not Alps, but mountain ranges, and they have the Andes there. And oh my gosh, the stadium was amazing. There was a mountain right behind us. It was just
I love it.
Beautiful. The sunsets were unreal. The crowds were always packed. The people in Chile really showed up. I mean, and they were from all over too. We actually had some Americans that would come and cheer for us and tell us where they were from. I think one was from Florida and lived near Sarah. So really cool. Just an amazing experience overall. I could go on and on.
Yeah. And you got to play Anna Patricia and Duda.
Yeah.
Which I think that's, like, I would love to play Anders and Christian just to see. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think it's cool to take a swipe at the best team in the world.
Oh, yeah. That was awesome. I think that we could have played a little bit better in that game because it definitely felt like, I think Sarah and I in that moment too, we were focused maybe a lot on the external and played against the team that we were playing against and played instead of playing our own game.
Right.
And I would love to play them again. You know, I think they're just an amazing team and they're a really fun group. And I think people go back and forth on serving who they serve there a little bit. I know most people probably
it's so funny because I've commentated so many of their matches and just doing the awards. So Anna Patricia, I think, got 41% of the vote for best offensive player. Duda got 36. They're 1 and 2 in the world. So yeah, I mean, who do you want to serve?
Yeah,
middle.
Yeah, middle.
Short middle every time.
Short deep, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, no, they're a phenomenal team, and I was just really excited to be able to play them, and I'd love to play them again. You know, I think that they're they just have a strong defense, offense, everything. Like they're good servers, they're great blockers, great defenders. Have so much range on their offense.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
And they're such good people.
Yeah.
One of my favorite memories, I think it was one of the classiest things I've seen. So they lose world champs in the finals and they're turning around the podium ceremony pretty quick. And Duda was crushed after. And she wrote a really long Instagram caption, like one of the few times that Duda really opens up. And she's like, this was a hard loss for me to take. Well, when they go up and get their silver medal, before they even put their necks down and get their medals, they go over to Kristen Taryn, give them big hugs, go over to Kelly and Sarah, give them big hugs. And you're talking 10 minutes after a brutal loss. And that's the first thing they do. I thought it was like such a cool sign of what good people they are. Absolutely.
Like that's just incredible sportsmanship. That's so hard to do, but it shows like how much they respect the game. They respect the athletes. They're just, phenomenal people. And I love, a lot of the Brazilians do this too. They go and shake the hands of both refs before they start. You know, they just appreciate everybody being there and being in the moment. I think that's great. Lily and Larissa do that too. And I always want to, but then I'm like, I'm scared.
I always do it with the refs because I'm like, listen, I'm going to be nice to you if you want to return the favor.
Yeah, a little. No, actually, John King in Doha, they didn't let him ref my matches. I'm like, what? Okay. How come, John? But no, I love John King. He's amazing. He's
awesome. Love John.
I was hurt. No, but they did let him later on. But he was telling me, he's like, no, I don't mind it. I get a little break. I'm like, oh, then you're welcome.
We've been trying to get John on the podcast for a while, actually. Because we've been trying to get a ref on. And John, I think, is the most unanimously respected ref.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. So we had J-Rod.
Okay.
The George Clooney of beach volleyball, but now we're trying to revisit the refs.
Yeah.
Get back on.
Yeah, he'd be a great guest.
Yeah.
And he does it all too. He's done a lot of the international and a lot of AVP, so I feel like he sees so much, and he's a great guy. So.
Yeah, the best. Well, what's next for you, Corinne? Sleep?
Yes.
Some sleep, some rest for
a little
once?
bit of sleep. Well, I've been sleeping a lot, but no, I'm definitely looking to get healthy. Had a few things that I've been, playing through. I was talking to a lot of people over the course. I'm like, gosh, I think I've played through it all my life a little bit, that I'm realizing at this moment, like I want to be healthy and I want to play pain-free. And I think mentally, physically, that's all going to help my game in the long run. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to get healthy, focus on health in every angle, like especially the things that need it, mentally, physically, the things that I'm eating, all of that. And so
raw milk,
grass-fed, grass-finished beef, we're doing the whole.
When you're healthy, I think the biggest thing that I've found with it is when I got the trainer that worked right for me and found the diet that worked right for me, is that not only do you play better, but you enjoy it way more. And I think that is one of the most underrated aspects, because when you go to practice and you don't dread it because it's going to hurt, your days are just infinitely better.
Yeah. And I can't wait. I can't wait for that.
I'm excited for you.
I'm so excited for that, because I think that happened a lot this year where I played through a lot of pain. And And every time I'd go to practice, I'm like, oh, this is going to hurt,
It's the worst feeling.
Yeah. And I don't know why we do it to ourselves. I think we'd be better off,
Yeah.
wait until we're healthy.
Yeah.
But
So take your time, rest up.
that's my plan.
Well, what sponsors do you have that you'd like to shout out?
Yeah, obviously, I'm super thankful. Wedbush has been amazing. They've been with me for a while. And, they were actually all there, too, for Hermosa, which was awesome. I just felt like all the love and support at that tournament from them. Waiakea as well. Awesome water. Really going down the rabbit hole with all the drinking mineral water, not purified, So they've been really great for that as well. Coppertail and Replay are awesome. They've also been with me for a while and huge supporters. And I'm just super thankful for all of them. And Now Foods with all the supplements.
Sweet.
So, yeah.
Right on. Corinne Quiggle, thanks for coming back on the show. Welcome to the new studio.
Yeah, this is awesome. I'm forever impressed with Gabby, by the way.
Oh, she's we don't deserve Gab.
Yeah, I follow her on Instagram every single time. I'm like, could I do this one day?
It's so funny. Gosh, who did we have on the podcast where they were coming on? And they're like, do you think I could meet Gabby? I was like, she's the real star of the show now.
She is. I mean, when you do something like this and all of the other things she does, she's
amazing.
I want to be her little protege. I want to follow her around and
she'd be happy to show you.
Let her mentor me. Yeah.
Well, get some sleep. Good to see you again.
Yeah,
Austin was happy to see Aunt Corinne back in town.
He's so cute. He's the cutest, honestly. If
We're
he could
try
just
to keep
sit
him
here.
that way.
Yeah.
We recorded an episode the other day where he just sat there for 20 minutes and just watched Dad go to work.
That's so cute. Oh, my heart.
Bring your kid to work.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on too.
Yeah. Get some sleep.
Yeah.
Shoots.